All right, so we're going live again. I just got done a meeting. We got Jeremy going to be hopping on here. Before we do, I just want to tell a little bit about him, let everybody know kind of an idea of who Jeremy is, and kind of what we plan on covering here on the second live. So Jeremy, we meant to go live yesterday, but we ended up having, I ended up running out of time and stuff. We couldn't link up, so we're going 2 in 1 day. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Facebook user? So if you guys have a chance, click on the link above, click on more description, and let StreamYard get your name from Facebook so that I can be able to mention your names. What we're gonna do is Jeremy's gonna tell a story, man. He's got a really awesome story. His first year in real estate, he did nearly $500,000, and that's coming from a job where he traveled a bunch of times. We'll get into that, and then from there, he went on to doing real estate full time. He's on track to bust his last year's numbers, and he's also been traveling a bunch more since then. So we're going to go through a bunch of stories, understand kind of what he's done to get where he's at now. In addition to that, we're really going to delve into the micro, right? That's what we're all about, the micro, understanding like what kind of marketing he's doing, how's the systems look like, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him on here. Here we go. What's up, Jeremy, man? Appreciate you coming on, dude.
Hey, what's going on, Tyler? Thanks for having me.
For sure, dude. We're gonna have you on yesterday. I was telling everybody, but we ended up not linking up. My fault because of time and everything else, and I lose track of things. Well, actually, it was because I was trying to get the StreamYard stuff set up, but we got it now. We got the Ninja Cast, and I got a really cool little button. I forgot to do it with Jeremy, but I got this really cool Money Ninja. I'll show you real quick. He's like, they kind of put him on the other page, so he like pops up. Cheers. So he's kind of cool. I'm a little nerdy on it. We're trying to figure out some more ways, kind of make it that much cooler. So we might throw him out there every now and again, interrupt you with some money eyes. But dude, let's start off by just kind of getting an understanding of kind of where you come from. Give us go back like a bit before you even were in real estate, maybe even before you're like a therapist. You've told some stories in the past in the RSF Mastermind, some pretty crazy ones. So let's talk about that, because I think people need to really get a perception of kind of like I don't know, like your background. It's kind of you're a bit older, right? Than we just got off with Jacob, and you're just a bit older than Jacob, right? So you got a little bit more of an interesting I don't know, what would you call your whole gambling days? What would they be called?
Scary, to be honest.
Yeah, you got big crazier stories. If you want to get into that, feel free, but you can skim over it if you like. But I want to talk about how much of a position you're in before, right? To give an idea and some context around kind of like where you're at now. Because it's a really big difference, I think. I think it's a pretty big difference, not only probably mentally, but financially, as well as overall just as a person. So let's get into it, man. What you got?
Yeah, perfect. Like the mindset now is about value add, and just like try to share as much as I can with as many people to change their stars like mine was. So taking it back, I grew up in a real poor neighborhood, broken home. My parents were never together, so both of them were deep into drugs. I have a twin brother. We always had each other. There's nothing like having a best friend in every situation. So just growing up, like we had each other, and my grandma was our caretaker until we were about, I think in 6th grade, where we finally moved in with our dad, and he got married and kind of like righted the ship a little bit. He was a little abusive. It's almost like at what point wasn't a parent abusive through the 80s?
Right? Yeah.
Every story, like, it's like, was I abused? I'm not really sure if that's abuse. It's like the common like dad at that point.
Yeah.
Especially in the neighborhoods that I was growing up. Caucasians or white males were the minority where I grew up, and it was pretty tough. I held on to school and sports, and always had to rise to the occasion. Like when you grow up in that type of neighborhood, realistically, like you just had to always like show up and show out somehow. If not, you
Right.
got lost in the crowd. You weren't, you just weren't anybody. And I just always had that mentality that I wanted to survive. I wanted to be more than just the average person, or just the guy that went to jail, or the guy that wound up dead, or whatever it may be. So yeah. So anyways, I actually made it in high school. I did a college prep that kind of is called Grand Valley Trail Upward Bound. They help people out who parents and nobody in their family ever went to college. My brother and I did that program. It really was the first time that next to my grandma, almost like what kind of saved us in the path that we were taking. It led us into, even though it was kind of a disappointment at the time financially, we didn't really understand loans and things like that, but we still made it to community college. My brother and I both got our associate degrees, and really poor, driving a car that stalled at every stop sign.
Yeah.
You're just like, I got a seatbelt ticket from a cop one time. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I had to stop at the last stop sign, pop the hood, and then mess with the wires just to get my car going. And then that's why I forgot to put my seatbelt on, one of those.
Yeah.
And that's after you got your associate degree, you're supposed to be making decent money, I think I was making $8 an hour at the time, or $9 an hour. Just struggling. I kind of ran into some friends that were playing poker. I didn't really I always enjoyed playing nickel, dime, quarter, anything like blackjack or whatever. And it kind of opened my eyes to getting to know poker and opening I worked for a couple of teachers that opened a charity poker room. I wanted to be the best. I always wanted to be the best at everything. Right. And I think that mindset is really important. I just wanted to be the best dealer in case somebody was watching that cared. And then I wanted to be the best floor person. And I just wanted to constantly take on more responsibility and just try to just ethically and morally know that I was leaving everything out on the table. And by doing that, I ended up being a manager, and then I ended up being a partner in poker rooms across the state of Michigan. There's a loophole that has to do with charities. You can team up with charities. We bring them into one location, and then we just change out the charities. So then I was operating poker rooms throughout my 20s, where I went from making literally $10,000 a year to all of a sudden 25, 55, 100, 130. And the broke, it's like the pro athlete that never experienced money before. All of a sudden I could go to Las Vegas and gamble. All of a sudden I could go to professional ball games that I just wished as a kid. My parents didn't really have the money, and they didn't have the time. They weren't very active with us. And for the first time I experienced money, well, needless to say, long story short, partners kind of chopped out. They're like, yo, the license is in our name. You no longer add value. What you did is you got all these poker rooms started. We're making millions of dollars. It's time to cut you loose.
Man.
So next thing I know, I'm living the same lifestyle. I own a home, which is really nice, but with a mortgage. And I find myself in a bigger hole than what I was when I started. And when I started, I was making $8 an hour with zero debt. Now I have $40,000, $50,000 in credit card debt. With no job. And how do I make up a six-figure job at 27 years old with no experience?
Right.
Needless to say, I lost.
You could go to a company I might be able to gamble on the side to increase you guys' profits.
Yeah, I was going to the local poker room that I started as a schmuck. All of a sudden, now I'm the degenerate gambler that's just down there trying to make money. And the funny thing was I thought I was good and I sucked.
Wow.
A lot of poker players, and that's how the pros make a lot of money, right? Because our ego's getting away. And for years, I was playing for 10, 11 years and thought I was good, and I didn't know I was the fish at the table.
Right.
So anyways, I was lost for a couple years, decided to go back to school. I knew I headed to do something that was going to give me a career. So instead of finishing my bachelor's degree, I went into respiratory. I literally went to Foot Locker with a friend of mine, said, yo, looking at some shoes, and a buddy of his was like, man, he goes, you know what you should do? You should look into respiratory therapy. And I was like, what's that? I've never heard of it. And he tells me it's like a lung and heart specialist. Dude, he's like, Kalamazoo has the best program, like the community college. You'll never believe it. Dude, I went down there that week, signed up for respiratory therapy, not even knowing what it was. I was good in high school. I was good in college, but everything came naturally. I never had to really work in school. And next thing I know, I'm trying to be a respiratory therapist where I need to put study groups together because this information is so hard.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like, I don't know. I have no background in this, you know?
Yeah.
I'm at the hospital. Like, I went from having a good time every day, hanging out with waitresses and friends and just like the happy mindset to all of a sudden, like everybody's sad and I got to save their life. And like, oh shit, like it's not party time anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and,
work for real.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I was struggling. Like I just put myself, like I needed something new. I needed something to revive me. I had to get out of my comfort zone, and I knew I was going to jump 2 feet into this and just let it ride. I don't think you really, like, a lot of people get lost with having to know what they want to do. But a lot of people find the ways, and the same way I did, I just committed myself to everything that I've ever done. And naturally it's just worked out pretty well. And I think what a lot of people lack is just commitment. You know, everybody wants to just dabble. Like, I don't know if this is it. Like, no, if you put 2 feet in, give it your best, you can be passionate about it. You can be good. Anybody can do it. You're here. I'm here. Like, there's, you know, success.
It's totally doable. So when did you actually get into real estate then? What year was it? 2018?
2018. So I became a respiratory therapist and graduated in 2014. Did it from 2014 to 2018.
And you were traveling. So how often were you gone in that?
I was gone 3 days a week, and I had 2 kids that I had during the going back to school. So it made it really hard. I was making $75K a year, but there's no fee. Like, it's like money, like it's almost like cash. Like, there's no 401k. You get hurt, you're screwed. The average respiratory therapist topped out at $36 an hour. So I didn't want to be I was already making like $48 an hour traveling.
Right.
Like,
so you're pretty much out there. It's kind of like a traveling nurse. It's like you're kind of just, you're in that situation. You're traveling. Generally, when you're traveling, I don't know if it's the same thing, but I know like traveling nurses and they're just stopping around. They basically end up getting like the customers no one else wants, because they're kind of like a pain. And, this guy's just coming in for a little bit and then leaving. Maybe you're doing that locally. I don't know. But I know some of my buddies that like are traveling nurses. They go like for 3 months somewhere. They stay there for a while and they get all the crappy people because they know they're just going to leave again anyway. Yep. But no matter what, either way, you're spending half. That's a 50% travel job nearly. You're away from home at least 50% of the week, almost, right? So, that means you weren't with your kids as much. And through that time frame, I'm pretty sure you had to have had a kid in that time frame because your kids are about that age, aren't they?
Yeah, 2014, pretty much when I graduated, like just after I graduated, we had our first one.
Okay. Yeah. So, your wife now has to deal with having them. I mean, it's not ideal, right? You wanted more, you're making decent money. At least you're not where you were at before, but you probably had like an inkling, something that was like eating you up. So then you started real estate. Did you just start searching around for real estate and that's how you found it? Or how did you end up finding real estate?
No, I actually, I didn't know anything about real estate. Running the poker rooms, I befriended a kid that was 18 when I was running it. And I think I was like 23, 24 when I first met him. He needed a place to stay. He moved in. His mom and family kind of like helped like fix up my house, and just a great guy. Always had a big picture in mind. He would call me like he was going to be a professional poker player, moved out to Vegas. And he always just kind of stayed in touch throughout my respiratory days. And he goes, Jeremy, I'm doing this these $1 million flips. Like, are you interested? And I'm interested, but I just started this career and I just had a baby and I couldn't really transition into anything because he never like represented a solid plan. And he finally came to me and he goes, hey bro, I have something hot. I think you'll be good at it. You're committed, you're driven, you're capable. I think like you should read this wholesaling book. I was at the end of my contract. I read the wholesaling book, and I recommend it for anybody that's looking to get into wholesaling that doesn't understand it. I'm trying to remember the title.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember it either.
If You Can't Wholesale After This by Todd Fleming, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so then like, did you quit cold turkey then?
I did.
So you quit cold turkey, started doing real estate full time. So then what happened like after that? Like, how were you starting to market, and like what were you doing to get deals then? And like when did you start seeing traction?
It took me 4 months to really like, he gave me like 3 books, told me to read them. It took 4 months of like panning out, because there really wasn't a lot of like proven scripts, and a lot of people, like all this education stuff started coming on in the last 2 years, like literally right after I was like going through the hard part of it. So I was feeling stuff out, and I found myself just talking too much. It was all about me, and I was telling stories, and I didn't know much about, like, SMS wasn't really hot in 2018. It really like buckled like at the end of 2018 and into 2019. And that's where I really took advantage of it. Everything was pretty much cold calling, RVMs. And that's exactly what I was doing. And we started SMSing and getting people on the phone. And I was just like taking the bumps and bruises to the head of, I got to fake it till I make it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I never did a real estate deal. So I'm kind of gathering everything. And 29th, we call him Pizza Boy. My first deal was a Pizza Boy guy. He wanted to sell his house. He wanted to sell his house and buy a van and travel all over the world, but he was delivering pizza at the time. So we did a deal. We did a price reduction on him. Obviously, my buddy was like still mentoring me on the aspects, and his roots come, like, he followed Rafael Vargas, so it was all high equity data. Spray and pray kind of outlook. And dude, he gave me some free data. We closed that first deal, and it was like all of a sudden we had the confidence that we knew what was going. We closed like 2-3 more deals in the next months. It took a little bit of it. There was like 2 months where I was like, oh crap, like, I think I'm going to have to go back. Like, we exhausted all of our income. Like, we might, I put in for a part-time job with a place that loved me, that I traveled at. They accepted me. I went to 1 shift. We closed 5 deals like at the end of that month. And I just apologized and said, hey, I can't do this.
It was a mistake. I had a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, I really apologize. Like, cause you don't know, like, this is like, consistency is key. But the thing is that this is a roller coaster. Like, you just got to go with the times. You just got to believe in your marketing. And sometimes, you're going to do something wrong and things are going to turn out. And sometimes you're going to do things right and they're not going to turn out. But you just got to stay consistent, keep the grind, and keep faith. And that's exactly what I did. And next thing I know, like, you feel like you're faking it till you make it. And we're like 43 deals in at the end of the year. And it's like, whoo, we're still, like, we're still faking it till we make it. People are asking me rehab questions, and do you know this and do you know that, and like, and I'm like, nah, man, I don't know any of that shit. I'm just wholesaling deals.
yeah, I'm just literally just hustling, right? So then at the end of that first year, then you guys closed out with basically just about 500,000. It was just shy of $500,000, and you were making 75,000 prior to that. A year, traveling 50% of the year, and you basically like tell us about like what kind of team did you have then? Like, what was your primary marketing strategy, and what kind of team did you have to be able to produce the revenue, and then like what kind of marketing data were you doing? Was you still doing just the high equity, just smashing high equity?
Yeah,
like what were you doing?
So it's kind of funny. So my mentor, and Elliot Lamson, God bless him, great friend of mine, has been for years, since the poker days. He's like, hey man, like, Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo are pretty small markets. Like, I think you should open up a little bit. And he's like, I got some free data that's just sitting around. It's used. Like, I don't know how good it's gonna do. And it happened to be Columbus, Ohio, which happens to be one of the hottest markets, in the last 8 years, to be honest. and we were hitting this old high equity data and purchasing new high equity data. And we were SMS was still the shh, like all the gurus, were like, there's SMS now, don't tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like people are like, oh, so what are you doing for marketing? And I'm like, well, we're cold calling and dropping RVMs. And they're like, do you know about SMS? And I'm like, I'm not supposed to say anything, like.
It's like what the water list was back in the day. They're like, wait, there's a water list? Like, what do you mean? What's a water list? Oh, I mean, you can get stuff from your county? Like, what do you mean? You can get free data? Like no one knew about it. It's like, okay, so you were doing SMS.
So we were doing SMS. We were trying, like, we dropped a little bit of RVMs, weren't really successful there. I was doing broadcast RVMs, and that was working really well for me. As far as like landline broadcast and text, that was like my main source. We were just closing a sick amount of deals, and we started to get into cold calling late 2018. But nothing was really like, it was like keeping afloat, but nothing was like tearing up as far as cold calling. So I was like, for as expensive as it was, I was just like, man, I'm not really sure about cold calling.
Right. So did you have someone that was managing those SMS for you, or like did you hire VAs, or what were you doing were you answering all yourself?
I was a 16 hat man.
So
I would be texting. I have a partner. Elliot put me with this other gentleman that I knew in Kalamazoo, and we made a deal to go in together. And I closed. He was still working, and I closed like 10 deals to get him out of his W2. And it was kind of funny because we were just like wearing every single hat. Like I'd be like, yep. Yeah. I'd be texting or cold calling. I'd be like, yep, hold on 1 second. Let me get my manager. And then I'd just lean over to this shoulder and be like, hey, this is Jeremy. Like, oh yeah, let me get you over to our dispo, our transaction coordinator. Like, yep, this is Jeff. How's it going? Like,
yeah, I'm everybody.
Yeah, I was doing the mark, like, and the thing is like I was trying to keep my partner on the acquisition side, So it was kind of funny because it was like I'm just wearing 16 hats and I'm working 16 hours a day, and I have kids, and I'd be in the middle of my living room, like everybody has like offices and stuff like this. My kids are screaming, I'm like, oh, hey, thanks for calling me back. I just want to apologize right away. I'm working from home, and I have 2 little ones. And actually, like a lot of people were like, they're like, oh no, that's cool, I have kids, or oh, that's, they're really receptive. And
it actually probably breaks down some barriers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it did. It really was. It was really easy to do it from home.
So was it just you and him for that first year then? The whole year? Yeah,
it was just him and I. No when did I hire a VA? I don't think I hired our first VA.
Well, let me talk to my manager. Turns the dog. Yeah.
Probably about 7 months into everything, we probably hired our first VA, and we hired her to text, and she wasn't doing admin. Like I was still doing all the admin. I actually didn't realize how bad I needed an admin until I did the 14-day and talked to you and did the REI, the REI SIFT.
The auto lead gen challenge. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy, man. Like, it just comes to show, if you just hyper focus and you're intentional in your efforts, you can have a lot of results. You're going to probably spend a lot more money, and you probably would have had more results if you would have like started focusing on processes and building out the team and all those things. You would have had a lot more time. You probably wouldn't have been doing 16 hours a day and all that kind of stuff. But like, that's what shaped you into understanding, like, what do I want to do in 2020? So that's kind of what I want to push into, because you really shown, like, you went from, bad neighborhood to basically gambling all your money away, becoming very successful, and then gambling all your money away, or having a bunch of money and then no money. No matter how you look at it, right? That was your life for a very long period of time. Then you became a respiratory therapist, had a decent salary again, was trying to get everything, going. You had that for like 4 years, and you're like, tell your wife, like, hey, I'm going to quit. I'm going to start fresh now doing this. And your wife was with you at the time that you were in all those other troubles, weren't she? Wasn't she?
She was with me. Yeah, actually, I met her in one of my valleys.
Didn't she give you the thousand? Didn't you mention a story before where she gave you? Was it her that gave you money in order to go to like a something or something rather?
No, it was literally. Yeah, we'll backtrack for a second because
Yeah.
the best part of that story I didn't get to. Pretty much after going back to school and graduating for a graduation gift, I still owed like 50,000 in credit cards, and I was even more in debt because I was working at eight. I went and took an $8 an hour job just to get some type of experience, so I'd be more hireable for the hospital. So I was working at a folks home every other weekend, so I wasn't really bringing in any money when I graduated, and I had like maybe $1,600 to my name, and I owed 50,000. Like it was crazy. I was doing like a sick credit card shuffle just to pay my mortgage. I'd buy somebody else's groceries, get the money, pay my mortgage. Like I don't even remember how I scraped. I called two guys that used to back me in tournaments. They're like, "No, man, you haven't played in a while. Like we don't have the money." And so for a graduation gift, Firekeepers is hosting a $1,600 MSBT event. And she's like recording me laughing. And she goes, "Listen, I just want you to promise me right now that when you lose, you're not going to be mad about this $1,600. Because $1,600, you're literally putting everything on the line. Like bankroll management out the window. It was like, hey, I'm going to go blow $1,600. And no matter what happens here, like I'm going to be happy with the result." And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, honey, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to win. This is going to change things. Like this is a good streak. And lo and behold, after the first day, I was chip leader. And going into day two, like next thing I know, I found myself going out in fourth place for 40K. And most people are like super pumped up. And I was so dominated by the final table. I was like, I suck at poker. I just lucked my way into 40K.
Yeah. So you ended up winning $40,000 from that?
Yeah, won $40,000. I put it in my backpack. We celebrated like $1,000, like just gambling. And that night, like I was super stoked. We went home. I put 4 stacks of $10,000 on my nightstand, laid on my pillow, just staring at it, just smiling, like, oh my god, Now
you're closing $40,000 wholesale deals.
Well, that was kind of the pitch from my buddy. My buddy's like, when he came back and he goes, listen, and I was playing poker. Like from that point forward, I decided to train at poker and actually become good and actually listen. And that's like one that, like, kind of like with going into real estate, God gave you one mouth and 2 ears. Yeah. If I would have years ago, if I would have shut my mouth at the poker table and just would have listened to people who are professional or better than me, and I was always with these people because I was running rooms. So people automatically wanted to befriend me that were way better than I was, but I was not willing to listen. And all of a sudden, like that day, like winning 40,000, like a switch just turned on and said, "You're an idiot. You're a complete idiot. You've had all these opportunities, and you just look like an absolute fish and got lucky to win 40K."
Yeah. Got dealt the right hands.
Right? Got dealt the right hands, just knew enough just to slip by. And I took 40K, paid off all my credit card debt. And I've always tried to be like financially, ethically, and morally above code. And now I look back, I should have filed, I should have filed bankruptcy.
Yeah, should have filed bankruptcy and had that 40 grand for capital or whatever. Yeah.
I sold my house. My house ended up like doing pretty well. Like I ended up selling my house. I didn't know anything about it. Right. I was trying to tell my realtor friend, like, well, I want to sell it for this much. And he's like, Jeremy, I hate to tell you, that's not how, this business works. And this is in 2015, not too far from where I'm at now. And I didn't know anything. I was telling, like, I look at my realtor friend today who I do business with still. I'm just like, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry that I was the typical naive homeowner. Okay. So now we kind of got a concept there, you ended up, making $40,000 from, a deal, really, just a blessing in disguise that you did, you risked it all, that you had made that money that was able to take a lot of relief off of you. And then you went and became a respiratory therapist, and then you started doing real estate, and you had a $75,000 a year, basically half a year to travel on and off. And then, starting in 2018, you quit your job went full time. A year later, you're like, holy crap, we just made $500,000. And I was here laying on a pillow, not but 5 years ago, staring at $40,000 and $50,000 in debt. And now at this point, you're rolling into 2020 and you're like, okay, this is like, what were you thinking leaving out of 2019 that you need to do in your business in order to get where you wanted to go in 2020? Did you even have an idea, like what you wanted to do or what your problems were? Because I don't remember when you came to me and you and I had a conversation. I don't remember what day that was or what month. I remember you came to me because you had signed up for REI Sift. I don't know how you found REI Sift actually to this date. Now I think about it. And you were like, oh, I want to, you wanted to cancel your account at the time, and, naturally being how I am kind of, like, okay, well, have you even tried, have you done anything, you're like, you had just produced a bunch of money anyway. So like what, I don't know. I want everyone to get into your mind, on how did you start off your year? Because I think that's a big thing. Like, 2020 resolutions and all that kind of BS. Like, I don't know. Where are you trying to go with your company?
Yeah. So at the end of 2019, we're faking until we make it still. We knew that there was a lot of holes in our business. My mentor, like me and my mentor, my buddies, were kind of arguing and kind of like falling out a little bit. So just over other stuff. And all I knew is going into 2020, like you always got to climb that ladder, right? But I couldn't climb. Like my partner was on the phone 45 hours a week busting his ass. I was working 16-hour days. He's working 8-hour days. I'm working 16-hour days. And we're peaked out. How do we, like, I want to make our business $1 million business. How do we get there? What are we doing? And through Elliot is how we got REI Sift. Like he heard about you guys stacking and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Elliot.
Yep. Yeah, we're spending so much money. We knew we were skipping data that we already had, and we knew that we were buying data that we already had. It just wasn't making sense. So I didn't know a lot about REI Sift. We had somebody that was kind of like putting all our data in for us, and we weren't really like using it to its full.
Oh, did you have a VA that in your VA was communicating with me? I was like, dude, I need to talk to whoever your owner is.
Yeah, like not necessarily a VA, but he was trying to he was working as a COO for Dan and Elliot, trying to take run their business, and he was operating for everybody underneath them. So they had like 4 or 5 people that they started to mentor after me. So then that guy was representing all of us to you, and he was like working all of our accounts. Well, with that being the case, like we just didn't know really what was going on, right? It's no different. Like, okay, I can buy high equity and not know what's going on, or I can buy high equity and hand it to him and still not know what's going on,
Yeah.
So, anyways, 2020, I had $1 million vision. I was kind of like arguing with my buddy and trying to figure out like, shit, like, what do we do? Like, how do we like eat at the big boy table? How do we stop faking it? Like how do we like not be a pretender and be for real, and still like slide under the radar? Like,
I think it's funny how you're saying that, and you made nearly $500,000 the first year, and everyone's like, I still can't get my first deal, but it's like vision, right? It's like deciding on who you want to be and where you want to go. And there is a big difference between, like, in real estate, you can make a lot of money and have no idea what the hell you're doing, 100%. Because it's a very simple business. Call, make offer, yes or no. It's like 3 stages. It's the simplest thing you can have. It's not like you're building a freaking car.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay. So you want to be a million, you didn't want to fake it no more. What was your first steps to figure that out? Did you go pay for education or?
No, I actually want to, I want to throw something in there that I don't want to forget to tell everybody.
Yep, go ahead.
Back when I was looking up information after I quit and was reading those books and stuff, and I was looking to post my first Craigslist ad that my buddy advised me to do. I was reading about wholesalers on Craigslist, and I saw a lot of negative posts about wholesaling is pretty much dead. The resources out there, like people just have top-notch resources. And it like kind of like put me in like a funk for 3 minutes. Like, oh shit. Like, oh damn. Like I was depressed for like literally for like 3 minutes. Like, what am I doing? Like I have a family. I was working a good job and I could go back to it, but like I was committed to this. And then I started thinking like, wait a second. I have those resources. I'm that guy that she's bitching about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like this happiness, like, and it's all about mindset. Like, it was like, no, wait a second. I can be that guy. Like, those resources are at everybody's fingertips. And with Elliot having real empire and like dropping some gold nuggets into my lap, I was like, oh, F this. I was like, I'm gonna go be somebody, you know. I'm gonna run with this. So I just want everybody to know, like, don't let your mindset, like, don't let somebody else or tell you whether you're gonna be successful or not. Because at the end of the day, it's your mindset, your commitment, and if you commit to it, if I can be here, you can be here.
100,000%. And once you have that, once you get to that point, it's like, man, like wholesaling in general is literally just a stepping stone in entrepreneurship. It's a really nice entryway into entrepreneurship because it's so simple. And once you get into it, you're like, okay, like there's so much more. Like I am literally only biting, like I'm only nibbling the apple. You know what I mean? It's like not even getting all the way through like the skin on how much is possible. You know, once you start getting in there, you start building that liquidity and you start understanding that you are that person, right? That they're talking about. It's only a matter of just a few missing pieces that you have to implement before you start freeing up time, producing more revenue, and start being able to focus on like things that matter, you know, and whatever that is that matters to you as an individual. So, all right, what's next? What you decide you wanted to change? Elliot had some stuff. You gave you some nuggets. You kind of had that aha moment that you are that person. Like, did you continue just doing SMS? Did you add people to your team? How did your business change from there?
No, we added, like, so we had some cold callers, you know, still going, SMS. We didn't really change anything just yet. We really were stuck, you know, we were kind of like stuck in a spot, and we were just like, okay, like, what do we do? And we're like, well, we know the equation to do what we did last year. So it's like, do we scale how do we scale this team? And the problem is like being like coming from that poor and having that poor mindset and that control and not understanding like, you know, the bigger picture. Like it was hard for me to stop texting and hand it to a texter and stop micromanaging her and to not micromanage my cold callers and not like, it was just tough for me to hand over these positions. And then even when I did, like I was just managing them to the point where both like me and the person in that spot was kind of like, it was just every relationship was bad. Like I had to like just like change my mindset and be like, listen, I want this to be successful. I want you to be successful. Let's work together and just communicate effectively. And like I just started like opening my mind a little bit, and I've had some people reach out to do some JV deals, and lo and behold, a godsend, this guy John hit me up on Facebook and was like, yo, I see your post all over the place. Can you you know, do you think we can JV on a deal? I have a house and I see you seem to be pretty successful in this area. And when he hit me up, I obviously like, yeah, man, like I'm excited to help you. Like, let me check it out. And I got him on the phone, and we had a lot in common. And like, he was getting ready to have his first kid. And he was just telling me like, you know, about his deal and the situation he was in and how he was just starting. And like, obviously we found common ground because I'm only in for 1 year, you know? And
Yeah.
I let him know that. And he was like, no shit, like, no way. Like, are you kidding? I'm like, no. And I ended up selling his deal. And when I sold his deal to the first investor, it actually fell out. And when I realized like how much we were selling it for and him having a kid on the way, like, and this is where the mindset, like, you don't have to, like, we're not 50-50 in this, bro. Like, you're like, I'm going to give you, I think I was like trying to just take 1,000 from the deal and you can take everything else. You know, like there's no way, like I wanted him to be in a better spot to be more successful. And
That's huge, man. You could see through that because it's something I talked to, you know, people about in general. In fact, me and a partner that I brought on, Jake Chambers, into Florida Cash Real Estate at the end of 2019, start heading up, you know, some core components of it. Is like, listen, man, like, you know, one of the big things about him is that he was that type of individual. Like he's in a really good place. And for me personally, even though I was making a bunch of money, you know, I never focused on myself throughout that whole time. So I still had debts. I still had, like, I didn't have a big savings. I didn't have any of that stuff yet. So, having somebody that recognizes that in your life, like if you when thinking about bringing on a partner, understanding where they're at personally is huge. So the fact that you're like willing to like take less to give him more to make sure that he wasn't stressed out so he can operate in the best capacity is huge.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was just like it was just an epiphany. Like, man, this guy's trying to do what I do, and in my spot, like how thankful I was for Elliot to open the path for me. Maybe I can return that. Like this is a way like I can just add value back to somebody else, and and it ended up being the best thing ever. He opened up a little bit more and asked for advice, like with him having a kid and me having a family, like, what do you think about me, doing this on my own and with a W2? And I was honest. I was like, man, if you want your wife to leave you, if you want to put in 16 hours a day, like I did, I don't recommend it with a kid on the way, without a partner and things like that. And we ended up coming to an agreement where we could work together and try to get him out of his W2. And he, well, let me jump back a little bit. He actually then mentioned REI Sift, and we already had an REI Sift account. And he was asking me if we were utilizing it, and I said no. And he's like, if I can add any type of value back to you, and I don't want to tell you what to do, you're already closing deals, but I think you should really look into, like, you pay for the account, the masterminds are free. I think you should like jump in the mastermind, and Tyler will do like an interview or whatever, like answer any questions you need to right off the bat before you jump in. And so I took his advice, and I felt like that could be what the missing link to us, like understanding our data and taking us from that 500K to $1 million. And it ended up being even better than that, because when I actually called you, you're like, you weren't so much like, okay, let's check into your REI Sift account. You just like pretty much broke it down. I was like, yo, bro, let's go ahead and see your business model. Like, go ahead and open your drive. And I was like, well, I don't have it in my drive. I have it in my Dropbox. And you're like, oh, hell no. You're like, this has to go on Zoom. Like, call me on Zoom right now or send me the Zoom link. Like, I got to see what you got going on. And we talked for 3 hours, and my mindset was, we were peaked out. I was working 16 hours a day. My partner was working 8 to 9 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. The only way we could get to $1 million is if we brought on more acquisitions, and I just keep working 16 hours a day and like try to like get some admins that finally like worked with me well, and like just scale up. And when I told you like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is where we're at, you're like, holy shit, you did that in your first year? And I was like, yeah, but like we're peaked out. Like, I think I need more acquisitions. You're like, no, bro. Like, I have this, and I'm $1 million wholesale company. And when you told me that, and I was like, no way, like how? You answered a couple of my questions, you changed my mindset, and come to find out, like the data, like going out, like I'd never put data in my equation. Like, it was just like, okay, this is like, we're just going to source this. My equation was, I guess like I'm going to buy data from a resource, acquisitions, dispositions, that's it. That equals our money. High equity data over to, phone calls from acquisitions, dispo, we're good. Now it's like, no, like I actually got a buddy here that's shadowing me. I have a niece that's 15 years old that just got her LLC going and is following REI Sift. And we're doing her data for her and she just got her first deal. It's literally like the way I teach these guys is, hey, like it's broken in, know your data. Like your data is its own section. Like your data into you like put it into your REI Sift, organize it, complete it, recycle it. After 90 days, keep it going, keep it going. Cycle A, cycle B, and then you go into your marketing. That's the next important sector. And then you get into your CRM and the organization of that. And then you get into acquisitions. So acquisitions is 4 steps, 5 steps down compared to the second step. Like it's a whole different business model.
Yeah, it's 100%. A lot of people don't think about it because, it's like there's not as many industries out there, right, where you have at your fingertips all the information to the people you're going to market to right off the bat. Most people have to case that. They got to create a street, location, and people got to come in and buy from them. Like salons, for example, they got to open up a storefront. They got to get people to come in. They got to build up a database with people. We have a database right off the bat, right? By just buying the information, by opening up our county records and just getting it. We have all that information readily and available to us. And we take such advantage of that. And we don't think like marketers in real estate. We think like greedy people who we just want to like buy houses and make a bunch of money. It's so much bigger than that. It's like you have the source of the data. You have people, number one, right? And then you've got people and data is two most important things in your business. And then if you go from people, and people are willing to build training programs and pay for courses to learn and all these things into their people, but then the data they do absolutely nothing with. When the data is what's going to make the people successful. This is what's going to allow them to be able to start locking up deals, but they focus nothing on it. And that's where, again, what we call is prospect management, right? So you have your people, you have your prospect management, you got your marketing campaigns, the cycles you were just talking about. How do those two communicate back and forth to be able to make it so your data is better over time rather than getting worse? And then, your acquisitions, now you got to get them in a good position through those marketing campaigns. And how are you treating them? What kind of follow-up sequences are they on? And what are they doing with that data? And that's where a customer relationship management system is for, because they've already said they want to sell. So it's crazy that you just broke that down like that, because it is true. In the industry, there's that big missing piece between, and I never actually thought about it like that before. I've never thought about it how that is like how most people's brain think. It goes from one to the other. I should make a diagram of that, because it is, man. Like people don't think about the difference between buying the data and then acquisitions. It's like one or the other, there's nothing in the middle. So that's thanks for the pro tip.
Yeah, no doubt. That was the epiphany that we had, like talking to you, and I was just like, God, where do I start? Like now that I have an REI SIFT account, now that I got we took John on, it's like, where do we break down our business and try to make it better? And we were like, okay, like Tyler's doing this. He's intimate with every address, not every phone number, every address. So we were like, okay, we're going to start on the back end. Like I'm not the best wholesaler. I'm under I'm making a half mil gross revenue. And it's like, how do I become the best? Well, I'm going to go to the very beginning of where it starts and work on that sector. And then when I'm done perfecting that sector and still do, you still got to keep the cycle going. You got to keep the money going. So I can't just primary focus and skip everything else. But we're we'd wake up at 6:30, I'd read from 5:30 to 6:30, jump on with John from 6:30 to 8 and do CEO, COO stuff. And then from 8 to 10, it was kid time. And then from 10 to 5 was I'm in the business. Now I'm a disposition guy working with my other in the business people. But yeah, you just you gotta take time to be a CEO and you gotta take time to, you gotta separate being a CEO from when you're actually working in the business. It's the only way you're going to stay focused.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, it's kind of along the lines of what I always say is like, from 9 to 5, you're an employee, and 5 beyond, you're a CEO. And you got to recognize when you're one of those. Too many people start off thinking they're a CEO when really they're an employee, and they start jumping in and trying to, operate as a CEO in the middle of the day when they should be focusing on how to produce more revenue, income producing tasks. And like you, throughout your first year, literally, you were the employee. You did that all properly. You were just, failing forward and continue to press on, and you made a lot of money doing it, but it's just not scalable. And if imagine where you would be if you would have known that in the very beginning, like in early 2019, if you would have understood what to do with the data, because I don't even know now to this date, and maybe you do or don't, like all that data you purchased in 2019. Do you still have it, or is that even uploaded? Do you end up having to buy all new data because you kind of got lost in the mix?
Oh no, that's all in my REI SIFT account.
Oh, you got it all captured. You found it. Thank goodness.
All that dirty, nasty data that we don't know where it came from. It's in there, unknown equity, and we're still pulling deals from it.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing
from that dirty data.
Like most people, they'd be like, "Man, I got all these CSV documents in my downloads, so I gotta just drag them put them in the trash can because I want to add more photos to my downloads or something like that." Right? They just end up deleting all. It's like literally deleting money. I was like almost equivalent to like pulling out your wallet and just throwing it in the trash can. So it's really funny. So okay, getting back on track, you realize that John came in. John's like, wait, I'm an REISIF user and you're an REISIF user. Are you actually using your account? And you're like, no. And he's like, okay, well, like maybe that's my big value add. Whether we do something or not, I can like manage that for you, and you can go in there, figure out what's going on. Like, what happened after that point?
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out so he sorry, yeah, it was dirty data. So we were trying to figure out how do we move forward that works for both of us, and how do we continue growing and filling the gaps in the company. And it's like John wanted to be his own operation, and he was having a kid on the way, and we're like, well, let's work together and just put one foot in front of the other and see like how we can do this together. And we were like bouncing back and forth between like being partners in a market and just making him COO of my company, and just really like relieving me of some of my duties. And we're already hiring, in the process of hiring people.
Right.
But when I joined the 14-day lead gen challenge, and we were writing down like what's important, like why did like a VA admin and growing this team and growing this and growing that, and make sure we have like these important parts and how much we're spending in our budget, and just breaking our company down. It was like a eye opener. Like shit, like we don't have a VA for our admin stuff. I'm doing all of that. Now I'm handing half that off to John, which is wasting both of our time. It's $4 task. So we hired a VA admin actually through Andrea Stakes.
Nice.
Yeah, we brought her on. She was a crusher. Andrea is fantastic. I love her, and she talks to Layla, and they have a good relationship building there. But as soon as we brought her on and cut some of the stuff that we were using from Raphael, which was just dead money, that you just kind of like, you're like, oh, I think it's successful. Like we weren't running a lot of KPIs and things like that. We were documenting numbers, but really it was just the wild, wild west. So now like, because of the lead gen, it like just like highlighted like, hey, like you kind of showed us the ropes of like how to do it. You can be told how to do it, or you can do it, hold yourself accountable, and see how other people are doing it, and then try to put it together. And I think it's one of those things where like I just dedicated myself for 30 days. Like I want $1 million company. I'm making changes. I don't know why I'm failing at this whole VA thing. I don't know why I'm wearing 16 different hats still. I'm an underpaid employee for what we were paying ourselves.
Right.
So as I was talking to John and doing this challenge and dedicating myself, we were putting the right pieces into play. And I really think like, and John's now, he is our COO, and we are going to partner. Like we're in the process of partnering in a different market. So he gets to be his CEO. He's still like running my operation, but all our systems are in place. And now instead of one person or two people kind of hashing out like what to do, we got another third brain that's like, just his attention to detail is everything I could ever ask for. Like everything, we just gel really well together.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like, I'm not going to be a millionaire without him being a millionaire. I'm not going to take on certain stuff. Like he's just such an important role to our company that, I would literally, and I've only known him for 6 months. I would literally, jump in front of a bullet for him or anybody in his family. Like it's just that type of relationship, that type of bond. But yeah, so now like after the lead gen, we're working on a few other things as far as marketing. We're using texting, cold calling. Now that we know that our data isn't dirty and incomplete and we're recycling it, we're able to open up direct mail. We're not having the best results with that. We've talked about that. We're changing some things. And it's still like, even to this day where you think you have everything figured out and you have a budget, like there's still like, you could just be missing it. And I hope people listen to this. You could be missing one piece of the puzzle. You could be doing everything else right, one piece of the puzzle could be the reason why you're not closing those deals and getting the return that you need. You know, just one stupid piece.
One piece. And it's almost like, and that one piece might be like a period of time too. You know what I mean? It's like one of the crazy things. It might just be patience, right? It might be, it might be the wrong location. Maybe you haven't watched the 3V motivated seller framework, so you have no idea who you actually should be marketing to in your market. You might not understand what a vexation is, or a qualifier and amplifier data, or you might not understand that out of half the data that you have, 50% of it's not viable. Maybe you're not viable because you have no idea how to even handle situations that are coming in front of you, and you're thinking they're not deals, so you're just tossing them aside. But really, there could be, $15,000 on the line that you're missing because you just don't know, because you haven't educated yourself, or you're not surrounded with a community of people who you can ask questions to and have unconditional support. There's just so many variables that can come into that, where what it all boils down to in that respect is just like, put in the work and don't make excuses, because like Jeremy has said multiple times already, it's like, he's here, I'm here, many others are here. In Auto Lead Gen Challenge in August here, we've had I think 4 people who have never done any marketing before lock up their first contracts in their very first marketing campaign, which is kind of crazy. I feel like it's beginner's luck, but they have a really solid foundation. I wish I would have got one in my very first campaign, but it's just like, if you understand the core concepts and the core foundations, people go to school for years, right? You went to school for 2 years or 4 years or however long to do respirational, I can't say what to do, be therapy stuff for breathing. And then you were making $75,000 a year. And yet people come into real estate and they think that they can spend 2 weeks, by themselves with no education, no idea what's going on, and, all of a sudden become a millionaire. It's just absurd if you think about it. It's insanity. It can happen. You can get lucky. But if you can, spend $99, or you can, watch a bunch of free YouTube videos and be willing to like have it take longer, whatever it is, then you can just implement simple steps. The biggest thing is like, the reason why college has syllabuses is so that you learn what you need to learn in order of the fashion of what you need to learn it, so that you can have, the right mindset moving into calculus, right? If you don't understand college algebra, you probably aren't going to get anywhere in calculus, right? So you got to have the right sequence of events. And that's kind of like what the Auto Lead Gen Challenge is designed to do. It's like, okay, first let's tackle the fact that you need to understand you're a fucking entrepreneur, and you got to understand what that means, and then from there we'll lead into, okay, now let's start talking about data, let's start talking about marketing, and now let's start actually doing marketing and tracking the results, and start, stacking those things on top of each other, no pun intended. So you and John, partnered up, and what does that look like since then? Like, what kind of how has that freed up time for you, or increased revenue? Or maybe there was a decrease in revenue initially because you guys had a lot of systems and processes you got to tighten up, but now you've increased time so that you can focus on being a CEO. Maybe what exactly is it that you guys adjusted and improved upon?
Yeah, so instead of scaling, we definitely set back, and it was one of those like slow down to speed up things. Like we were taking a look, and we were like, okay, we're wasting money, skip tracing all this bullshit, that data that's not, completed, and we're buying this data again and again and again. And so we had to clean that up, and then we had to figure out our relationships, and I had to change my mindset. The hardest part is like, and the best thing probably about bringing John on is, if I respect him this way, if I respect John this much and just meeting him, and I'm talking down to these other people without even knowing their stories, what if I just gave them the same respect I give John? And then instead of like just firing off on these guys because my emotions are high, I don't know what it's like to be, a CEO. If I just like stop micromanaging and just talk to them like normal people, maybe the response that I got from them would be different. And now, like, and I think about that, and I think about how John's demeanor is. I'm a little more emotional, a little bit more aggressive, but I just kind of like put him in the forefront to really like talk to our VAs and talk to our back, and then I can focus on bigger things and be less emotional. So I can like bitch at, like, him and I can have a bitch fest, like, why isn't this getting done? Like, geez, oh Pete. And then I get on with them, and I'm like, hey guys, like, let's find out what's going on for the day. Like what's, what obstacles are we facing? We meet our team every day at 10 a.m. and it's really FaceTime with me and John and my other partner and the rest of the team on the back end. And we just say, hey, like, what's going on? Like open forum, like, let's talk about today's goals. Let's talk about our vision. Let's talk about our shared success, any obstacles that we're facing. And at the end of the meeting, I end it with 5 minutes of open floor to bitch about anything. You want to bitch about me? You're more than welcome to. You want to bitch about the platform? You want to bitch about the internet? You want to bitch about somebody on the team? Like whatever it is, like let's just bitch about it and get over it. And realistically, like with that and John changing my mindset a little bit. And as far as like working, I went from 16 hours a day to I'm not even, I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't want to say this out loud. I don't want John or my other partner to hear me say this, but I'm working less. Like as far as like work in the business and on the business, like I don't even have to work 7 hours a day, really. Not even, I really don't even like, I could do CEO stuff for 4 hours, probably do my dispo stuff, split with John for 2 hours, and then do all like just whatever I want with the rest of the day, which is amazing. Right. Like honestly, I spend so much time with my kids. It's just the best thing ever, or on your 6-hour masterminds,
Yeah, you're on one or the other, I love it, man. It's crazy because, sometimes that's the missing link, right? Like just having that and you've kind of grown into that, right? And you wouldn't know what it is you need or didn't need if you hadn't have lived through the previous things. Some people get lucky and they see the right location and they get into it early and they kind of get to have all that information, all that insight, the right mentors, the right people around that they're surrounded by. And they don't have to go through the same amount of struggles. But okay, so then what are you doing now? Let's talk about kind of what you're doing now in marketing, and let's talk about like the flow of from the very beginning. If you were going to be getting like you said, you're going like Layla, for example. Layla's coming in and you're kind of guiding her, which is an amazing thing. I wish my uncle gave me cigarettes when I was 4 and I drank my first Yingling underneath the barn house. So my uncle is not as cool as I guess he was pretty cool if you think about it from those terms. But mine wasn't thinking financially and setting me up when I was 14 to become a millionaire essentially. And so that's pretty awesome on you. So like if you're going to start helping Layla, and like, what is the process of getting your data and like from start to finish, the flow of buying the data, what happens with it after that, and then like what kind of marketing would you do, and like what is the sequence of events from start to finish?
Yeah. So the first thing, so I'll even back it up a little bit from there. Like when Layla and I were talking, and I was showing her like some other young people around her age, I was just saying, hey, look, like, we can start off from the very beginning where I started to feel like I'm being successful in this business. And really it started with with REI Sift. Like, I want you to like watch these videos. I think the best video that you put out on YouTube is the 3-hour like full content, like how to get data to all the way to like
I literally went from buying new data, creating all the list source lists, to like market analysis, cleaning the data, skip tracing the data, and sending an SMS campaign.
Yeah, so I made her read the Todd Fleming wholesale book, so she understood what everything, like it's very it's this very easy read, right? It gives you a good concept. And then I made her watch that 3-hour video so she could see what actually happens, so she can see it in real time on the back end with data as an asterisk next to it. Like, it's really important. And then I had her do the 14-day lead challenge so she could understand the platform and how it works and whatnot. And, obviously PropStream is free data. So we pulled PropStream from her I let her do her own market analysis. We gave her some options, and I said, hey, I think this is where, I think this is where your best opportunity is. This is where we have a team kind of like already like in progress. And she chose to do Milwaukee. And so we pulled some Milwaukee data, and then I didn't want to spoil her yet. I didn't want to pull high equity yet because I wanted to see what she could do with the PropStream data. I wanted to keep her as thin as possible. And John was already like helping like pull that and stuff like that. So when
Now, did you do high equity from prop stream, or did you niche in did you start off with a niche list?
started off with a niche list.
What was that? Which one was that? Do you know?
It was, I mean, pretty much everything under the moon.
Downloaded all the different niche ones that are in vexations that are in prop stream.
Yeah, we have preset, like we already have preset buttons, you know, for all of it. And so yeah, I mean, for everyone else that's going to do it, we started with the niche list, because realistically, if you pull the high equity, it just says yes, there is a chance. But you don't know the motivation. Compared to vexations has motivation. So if it just happens to have high equity, and you don't know it, it seems like there's a better chance for that. Or at least in the phone calls, I can have her understand how to leverage that. Compared to high equity, there's not much leverage for her to learn off of. So I felt
I agree with that tactic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted her to understand that. I got her into the 14-day lead challenge. I wanted her, again, to understand REI SIFT. I wanted her to have a business, like a bird's view of what her business should look like, budgeting, like all the way from what her goals are, all the way to building the campaigns. So coming out of that, she was like, okay, like I get it. Like the last couple of days, Tyler was kind of repeating himself, and I've already done this stuff because you made me watch the 3-hour video beforehand. Yeah. So she was ready to rip. I got her on the phone cold calling. I think if anybody's starting off, you have to do this stuff by yourself. Like you shouldn't just like jump in and hire somebody, because at the end of the day, if you're all alone, if you have to peel back everything, if you lost everything, and you're the only one standing there, you're gonna want to know like how to do this stuff, so you'll always survive. Like you don't need anyone. A team is great, and teaching a team, and that's the way to scale. But at the end of the day, the only way you make money is by picking up the phone. And sometimes in this cruel world, you find yourself standing there by yourself. So I wanted to make sure that she knew, like, she knows how to close deals. So I put her on the cold calls. She's screening people. She's learning, right? This is a 15-year-old girl. She doesn't know real estate.
Yeah.
I listen to her ask about window. Like I'm listening to some of her calls to give her some pointers and stuff. And she's like, yeah, so as far as the windows, are they like the old ones, or did you do something with them? And I'm like, honey, like, all right, let's work. Like, we gotta use our vocab. We gotta make sure that we're talking real estate. So honestly, she's one of those people that you just mentioned from her Verse campaign. She ran into a hot lead. The guy's behind on taxes. Luckily for me, her, she's teaming up with her mom as a partner, and her mom already closes deals for me, doing part-time acquisitions. So she passed the lead over to her mom. She didn't even need to. The guy was ready to sign a contract at what he owed in taxes. So she was ready to sign it, but we were like, no, get it over to your mom so she can explain the contract a little more clear and give this guy the confidence. And they got it under contract. We got photos, and it's a banger. It's a deal. It looks like it's going to be about a 12K deal.
Love it.
Dude, yeah, like it's exciting. But it starts
all the money you've put into her thus far is now back, or she's put into herself. It's like,
yeah. The funny thing is like, as far as money into her, I put $100, like not even $100. Like you put it at a discount. So I don't even remember like the discount. Like,
the challenge was like, $69 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
you put that at a discount. Her REI SIFT account was an expense. She's using, like, we were able to use our prop stream. So really, what do I have into her? Like, not even $200. Like, kept it thin.
The timing.
Yeah, just beautiful timing. And she put in the work. We were actually on vacation, and she brought her laptop, and I said, hey, like, I'm going to
you guys are up in Michigan?
We're up at a family reunion, and she goes, you're bringing your laptop? I was like, yeah, there's a couple of days that I got to work. And she goes, do you think I should bring mine? And I said, well, do you think you need to, put some hours in and still learn and do some cold calling? And she's like, yeah, like, I didn't know if we were going to be able to. I was like, better grab your laptop. She came down and she worked, 2 to 4 hours every day that I was, doing my thing. And she locked up a deal on the second day that we're on vacation.
That's freaking awesome.
Oh, dude, it's so sick. But it goes like, and that's the thing. Like what, like anybody that's watching this and this contestant, REI Sift, the mindset, understanding your data. Like we only gave her her best shot because of all those principles. Like
Right.
it's not rocket science. It's if you put all these vexations together, if you do, and that's a 2+ stack list. And I think it was like
it was the 2-stack that she was marketing to.
yeah, it was a 2+ stack list.
2-stack vexations. There wasn't even high equity in those. Was it vacant? Did you do 2-stack vacant, or was it like straight up just stacked?
No, just stacked.
Yeah, I wonder if it's vacant. That'd be interesting.
It's not. That's a renter. They got it in contract at 38. He owes 30, like 37. And it's renting at like 850. Like, yeah, it's a guaranteed deal.
That's freaking amazing, dude. So it's like, it's crazy to hear the story too, because I mean, if for those that have been in the whole time, right? Like, I mean, he went from, just everything. If you just think, it's just amazing thing about life, right? Like, from kind of like, just getting into kind of college through a program, to going to college, to like gambling, to like losing everything, to using the last bit of your money, somehow making $40,000 from a poker deal, to paying off your debt, to going back to school, having kids, traveling for work, leaving your W2, and now $500,000 in revenue in the first year, to now understanding everything, having a COO, having more freedom, and producing leads, producing more motivated leads, closing more deals, still being consistent, to now your niece is in the business, not even really probably 2 weeks into her training and life, she locks up a 12 banger from less than $500 in expenses, and like 7 hours of effort minus the education piece.
That's it.
Like everybody in a nutshell, everything right there in a nutshell, and that's over the course of like, how old are you? Sorry. I don't know, like 35, 32.
I'm 36.
36. Yeah. So it's like, all the way up to that point, to think all that happened, you spent what, 34 years of your life, and all of this has changed in the last 2 years.
My mindset has wavered back and forth with a lack of confidence, right? Like you're just trying to find, like, I'm a football player. Like I identified as a football player growing up because that's what I was good at. And then I identified myself as a poker player / poker owner. And that's what I identified. And then like, I lost that. And then you're just like, your mindset, like you're not improving. You're just still a product of your environment and your education and stuff like that. And I was coming out of it. But I wasn't really changing. I still had like that scarcity, like thought process. In the last 2 years, like after the first year and working 16 hours, like now I'm able to read like self-growth books. I'm here to add value back to people. I'm spending more time with my kids than I ever could imagine. I literally took a 6-week vacation. Like if John was here, he'd be telling on me because he's been holding our company together for, for like the last 6 weeks. I've been back and forth to Michigan. Like I just went to Austin, Texas, and met some awesome people. I just went to LA for a business meeting and talked to this profitable company that's like, yo, man, like, what are you doing? Like, wow, like you got some mad value, like what's up? Like, how can we help you? Like, can you help us? We'd love to help you, like, build assets. And that's what it is. Like, my favorite saying that I see all the time is success is rented, right? So like the thing is like, I'm still in the capital game. Like I don't have assets yet. Until I have assets and I can make sure that I can secure my family and my daughter's upbringings, like I'm not done. Like the sun is just coming out. Like this is a whole new world.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy what can happen in a small period of time and how much you can change if you just, it's no different than if you actually went out and ran every single day for 30 days straight. And, if we say 90 days straight, like, sometimes it takes some time to start seeing the results, but once you start seeing the results, you become addicted to them, and you get addicted to, just feeling healthy, both mentally, physically, and financially. And you and you'll, I'm sure, I mean, I'm not quite sure with you, but I know that I lost a lot of friends throughout my journey, because everyone else wanted to focus on what they were focusing on, and because of my mind shifting and the way I was, like, I pushed a lot of people out, and it's just an amazing thing. So what I like to do, we don't have too many people in right now, but there's enough to have questions. I want to open it up for questions, right? Anything that you guys think. I mean, you guys have heard Jeremy's story. Like, there has to be somebody here or multiple people that can ask questions and really start, testing how quick Jeremy can be on his feet here with you guys. So if there's anything you want to ask Jeremy, in his journey, feel free to do it. Let's see if we can't stump him. If not, I got a couple more I'm going to ask him. And then he's got kids and he's got people there, so we could always, release him to the hounds.
They're banging outside the office door right now. It must be dinner time or something like that. No,
Yeah.
not yet.
What we got? Anybody have any questions for Jeremy that they can ask? Kind of the downfalls. I kind of threw these 2 interviews like in a whim. The next ones I'll be actually scheduling them out like a week in advance, so we could try and have a bigger pocket of people ready for questions. But nevertheless, it's going to be saved on YouTube. We saved on the group. Here we go. Facebook user, what is your criteria for quitting your job, and how was your mindset changing during that time?
That's actually a really good question. I actually didn't want to come on here because I was a little intimidated, because you're still like that fake it till I make it. Like, I don't know if I have enough value to add to everyone. But I actually thought about this answer and wanted to share it. So I'm really glad that you asked this. So the thing, like the job that I had during the time, like I was making decent money, but it was like only if I showed up to work. Like I didn't have a 401k. I didn't have a future like plan for my kids. Like if I had to go back, like the only way I could get those type of things is if I went back full time, and I was going to take a huge pay cut. So when I read Todd Fleming's book and I Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was just thinking like, man, if something happened to me and now I have 2 kids, like what kind of life? Like I'm living nice now. like we're doing whatever we want, but not at a grand scale. But like, what can I give them? Like, what can I provide to them in their future? Like, how am I going to see their sports events, and how am I going to be like an active dad if I'm doing this and needing to sleep that 4th day or traveling or whatever it may be? And that was it for me. That was it. I read, there's too much opportunity in real estate. There's too much wholesaling. Like literally I could call anybody right now. The next phone call that I could make, I could literally talk to somebody who says, hey, like this is in a different state. Like it was my mom's estate. I don't want to deal with it. Have it.
Yep.
Just have it. Or even $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, or like even a duplex opportunity or a triplex or anything. Like literally there's just too much opportunity to grow from that. So as soon as I read that and understood that, I knew it was time. Like I just knew like there's something greater for me. And I bounced. I said, all right. Like I was reading every other book. Like when I made that decision, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in one day. I read Never Split the Difference in one day. I read the wholesaling book in 2 hours. Like I was just that motivated to make a change now.
Love it. Love it. All right. What's the next one here? How was this transition on your family?
The way I did it, really bad. I actually gonna get a little emotional here. I need to take a second. So my old lady at the time, we just had a kid, I think like we had our kids back to back. So I believe like in the midst of everything, like I was just starting it and we were having our second kid. And she said like, what are you doing? Like, I don't want you doing this. And she literally like was pulling teeth, arguing. And to this day, like, it's been a lot better the last couple of months, but it literally almost ruined our relationship. I mean, I was married to the company and the drive, and it's between us, we pretty much almost split up like 20 times. You know, I drove her, like, she's a flight attendant, so I drove her kind of like out of the house, and she would just fly, and I'd have the kids here just like grinding the business. And luckily, like, she's still here. She, you know, she's decided to say,
you got something. You got something.
My kids. I was working next to my kids, and my relationship with them was really tough because I'm calling, I'm getting frustrated. I'm not sure how, like, all of a sudden I'm yelling at a 2 and 3 year old, or, you know, 2 and 3 for no reason. Like they're kids, you know, like, why am I acting like this? Like, why am I taking it out on them? And I just had to step back. I had to step back.
It's like, that's, you know, and that's kind of, it's interesting, man, because I mean, that's basically kind of how I grew up. I don't know if my dad's watching, it's on my personal page, but it's like, you know, that's how I grew up. You know, my dad, you know, he would, I mean, if you made a lick of noise, I mean, he would lose his mind, you know, because in his mind, every single deal was like, is this like, if you're always hungry for the next deal, if you're always hungry and you're always allowing your work and the people on the other side of the line to dictate how you react and how you interact with your family, you'll never, ever be able to see true growth, and you'll never be able to see and feel happiness in the right kind of way. Because, and what's crazy about that is that the person on the other side of the phone can sense it. There's something there and they can feel it. And you could make money, but you'll never be able to make the most amount of money possible, because it's like, there's just something about the human, like, anatomy, body, I don't know, physiology, I don't really know what the hell it is, but like, you can just sense things. We just sense shit, you know, and frustrations and upsets. And even if you didn't open your mouth to say something to your children, right? Just the feeling and the tension that's in the air itself is there, you know. And it's a really interesting concept, and it's why I think it's so important to make sure that, you know, in general, most people focus on what it is to be an entrepreneur and what it is like work from home. Yeah, Nikki, the energy, right? The energy is huge. It's like, you know, and I made a commitment to myself. I said, listen, how do you solve this problem? You know, what is the way that you solve that problem? And the number one way is transparency in everything. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're talking to a seller and you're working from home, transparency is the way that you solve the problem with them. People in general adapt and they understand, like, working from home is not anything that is, well, especially right now, you have the excuse of COVID, but in general, working from home is not anything that is bad. You know, if you just start off and people ask any questions, like, yeah, I work from home, you know, and this is it. You know, it's like, oh, you work from home? I thought you worked for a company. It's like, yeah, I do, but it's a remote job. It's actually pretty awesome. If you ever wonder how you can end up transitioning over to a job like this, everything can be an opportunity if you're transparent. When you start to try and hide things, that's when things go downhill. And that's when you start getting stressed out, because you're always thinking internally, like, how could I, like, fix my lie? And that will always stress you out, and everybody else will be will be, you know, victimized because of it. So thank you for being vulnerable on that, because I'm sure people, you know, will find that valuable, man.
Yeah. There's actually a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Great book. Yeah.
They relate to an article, Father Soon Forgets. And I had to pause it after reading that. And I probably cried for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and if you haven't read it, you can look up the article. It's like a paragraph, you know, just longer than a paragraph. But it just like, if you're like me, or if you're working hard and you got a family and you need a reminder, read that article. Like, it's really heartfelt.
Well, name the article again for everyone.
It's A Father Soon Forgets. I actually have it on this whiteboard because I'll make sure, like, I'll never forget it.
A Father Soon Forgets.
Father Soon Forgets, yes.
Yep. Go ahead and Google that, y'all. Okay. What are your next steps for building wealth?
Very good question. So we just took on our first wholesale flip. and I'm looking to do more hotels. The whole success is rented and building assets. I'm still in the capital game. That's still a capital game, but realistically, it's to try to like buy and hold multi units. I'm trying to get there. My part, like the LA guys I'm talking to, they're successful. They're doing well. They have lots of assets. I really like they shared a lot of knowledge that I believe in, and we share a common, a lot of common things as far as like growth and where we want to be and who we want to work with and how we want to work with them. And still Elliot to this day, he's got that same mindset and they're working on that. So realistically, it's still playing a big capital game and trying to build those assets and tuck them away and build that cash flow. So I'm not working a glorified job, because even in a CEO position in wholesaling, flipping, you're still a glorified, employee. You're an employee to your own business.
100%. Love it. Love it. And then Nikki had said energy when it comes to feeling what's around you and even being on the phone. That was all the questions that we had in here. I don't know if there's another way to see any more questions, but does anybody have any other questions for Jeremy? We're going on about an hour and a half now. So it's pretty good amount of time that Jeremy's dedicated to us here. So if anybody has any last questions, if they pop up here in the next 2 or 3 minutes, we'll get them answered for you. But between now and then, Jeremy, like what would you say, would be the first action steps for people that are just starting out? And then if those are people that are already closing deals, what would their, speaking of it.
What did you learn?
I learned that you don't pick the horses pick you.
That's right.
That's actually true.
Stop.
There we go. Nikki asked, did you ever think you were going to fail?
I don't. It's not that I was thinking I was gonna fail. It was, how do I not fail? Like, it's like I was so and it's okay to be driven by fear of failure. Like, I think like that's like one of the biggest motivations, right? That's what we use to leverage to get some of these sellers to actually dot the I's and cross the T's in the contract. But really, fear is a great motivator to push you out of your comfort zone. And I'm not gonna let myself fail.
Daddy,
Like, I never.
Oh, baby? Hungry?
I am hungry. Can I come eat in a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You want?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Will you go get me some? Thank you.
You want spin with a day?
Yes, please. 1 minute, and I'll be out there. Sorry about that. But yeah, as far as like, did I think I would ever fail? Outside of that Craigslist post and thinking like, oh shit, am I getting into the right thing? What's going on? Like, from that flip, no, like failure. I was good. Even when I took that, even when I took that job, like went back to take that job, it was, I'm only going to do this to keep funding what I'm doing. Like, cause I knew I knew that the opportunity and I was on the right. We closed our first deal. I knew it was just like right around the corner before, we took the dive.
Love it. Love it, man. Dude, I really appreciate you being on. Just answer real quick for me the first steps, and then for the people that maybe are already closing deals, what is the next thing they need to do? And that way people have clear direction where to move forward. Maybe like the 10-step process to kind of get in the right direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't push it too far off my own track. And the same thing I just put Layla and I'm kind of like pushing everyone else is make sure you understand what wholesaling is. The Todd Fleming book is great. B, make sure you read Never Split the Difference. Great negotiation tactic. A lot of people are afraid to hear no, and you just subconsciously like start to negotiate your numbers up in your own mind. And then next, I would say, and I would say purchase that REI SIFT account. Like purchase that account, because the thing is like, if you go to play basketball and you don't pair, you don't bring the right shoes, how are you going to play the game? If you're bringing, you can't run as fast as what everybody else is. You can't perform to your best. And I really like, and I don't tell too many, like, it's like my hidden sauce, you know, like, yeah, I got an RI SIFT account. Like I can do your back end, you know, like I got the secret sauce. So it'd be get yourself a REI SIFT account. It would be go into the 14-day lead challenge. Like as far as value, like I've spent $5,000 on some masterminds. I spent $10,000 on a couple of events. You know, things trickle down from Elliot and Dan to get me started. But really, for the value of like $100 or $70 or $90 or whatever it may be, under $200, you can start to roll up your first deals and get more knowledge from literally under 30 days of in the game than what most people who've been in for 15 years. They still don't understand the data. You know, I have people reaching out to me that's like, hey, like, can you tell me how to do this? Like, why, like, how are you closing so many deals? I've been in the business for 20 years. Like, can you help me?
Yep. What's up, Leanna? How you doing? We're about to end off, but you should definitely watch through this. It's an awesome conversation we just had for about an hour and a half here. Dude, Jeremy, man, I know you're hungry. I'm going to smoke a cigar and drink some whiskey. And I do really appreciate you hopping on, man. I know we're going to be on again. I plan on, you know, starting to do some panels and stuff like that, so we can have more than one. Yeah, Leanna, the Ninja Cast. Don't you love it? The little chakra inside of the little label there. I love it. You know, and I know you'll be on that because you're definitely a performer and you're such a go-giver. So how can people reach out to you, man, if they want to get in touch with you?
You can add me on Facebook, either Facebook or Instagram, or you know, feel free to write anything in the mastermind groups and throw my name as a shout out. I know that I'm getting close to 5,000 friends. I use my Facebook a lot for work on the disposition side. But don't worry, like if you throw a shout out to me and stuff like that, and anybody that I see that is friends with Tyler and a lot of people in the group, I try to add them because I know you guys are all, you know, similar mindsets, and I just want to add back, you know, what I can and what I've been given in the business, and I'm an open book. So if you need help or if you need any advice, feel free to reach out.
Love it. Do you have an Instagram?
I do have an Instagram. It's Jeremy Erke, EHRKE.
Jeremy Erke. Okay, perfect. All right. So, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. If you guys want to rewatch this, it'll be on Facebook. It's on the REI SIFT YouTube channel. And other than that, be sure to check out the Auto Lead Gen Challenge. You can go to reisift.com, hover over the resources, and you can see the Auto Lead Gen Challenge there. If you're not an REI SIFT user and you want to hop on a call to understand what it's all about, you know, you can definitely reach out to me on Instagram at Tyler Austin Original. It's a good chance I'm going to tell you to watch through some content first, because I do believe in people having to put in the energy and the time if they want to be successful. However, we're definitely here to provide as much value as possible and really show, you know, that we're going to change the way that this industry thinks about sales and marketing. And we are a national thought leader when it comes to the right way to market, the right way to manage data. And clearly, you know, we're surrounding ourselves with the right people because Jeremy's here right now. Dude, I really appreciate it. Go get yourself some dinner. Do you know what you're eating for dinner?
I believe some type of lettuce wraps and stuff like that. Hey, guys.
I was gonna guess spaghetti, dude.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it. And guys, feel free to reach out.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Be blessed.
All right, thanks, Don.
Later, man. Guys, definitely check it out. Rewatch the replay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was awesome. I'm really enjoying these things. I can't wait to do many more of these. We got a lot more people coming on to the SIFT cast to interview them and have their successes out to you guys, so you guys can understand even more, you know, how to close deals and how people are having success. And man, it's just super awesome. I love giving back, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you are, feel free to comment and let me know that this is something you guys like, and we'll keep doing it. So y'all be good, y'all be safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.